Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of the HNEpod, and again, I am joined by Jackson from Full Circle.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me back, Josh. It was a fun time last time, and I'm ready to talk some more news this week.
Yeah, so today we have on our kind of topic list there, we have the Christian Bale casting, talking about the role he may be playing in the movie. And then also at the same time, we're talking about the Flash movie because we have a new update on that, even if it's rather minor, all things considered. Then the Batman movie, set photos came out for that, or I guess I should say leaked out for that, which it doesn't give a lot, even though we do have a new confirmation for casting, but it does tease something, which may be a part of a grander part of the story for the actual movie. And then last but not least, the new Mutants trailer came out, so we're going to talk about that since, my God, has that production had quite the troubled history.
Been a long road for that one.
Yeah, for sure. Getting on, actually, to another DC property here, The Batman. So Matt Reeves' highly anticipated film, The Batman, is not coming out this year, but is starting to film this year, specifically right now. You know, Jeffrey Wright already tweeted that he was jet lagged from quote-unquote going to Gotham, because I think they're filming over in London right now. And some set photos came out of a character that appears to be Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne. In kind of, the best way I can describe it is a motorcycle with very dirty, kind of baggy, or at least multiple layers of like a jacket, pants kind of combination, a big backpack. It evokes a lot of Batman Zero Year vibes. And alongside of that, it appears that with the Batman, we have Penguin, which is, I think, Colin Farrell. Interesting casting. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so when I saw the Colin Farrell, or at least it was a stand-in or whatever the situation was, it was the Penguin, and we know now that Colin Farrell is confirmed to be cast by Matt Reeves. You see that, and you're like, okay, they're doing a different interpretation. You know, I forget the terminology they used to describe this version of the Penguin, but it was popular in the comic books. But the Robert Pattinson one was really the one that stood out to me, because you see him on this on the bike with the clothes and the backpack, and you quickly realize that he's obviously coming back from his journey abroad, which is very famous in the lore of Batman. They did it in Begins, and they do it in comic books every time they redo Batman, is him going off to train and then coming back to Gotham and to begin his mission to fight crime. And I think that kind of that one image says a lot, because I think you can take away the fact that there's going to be some origin in this movie, which from we had Reeves has been very vocal about how he wanted to take from the detective works of Batman and wanted it to be a younger Batman with a different story. And I think a lot of people assumed that it would be Batman in his early years, but I think this image kind of shows us that it might be earlier than we thought from the get-go. This may be his first go-around as Batman very early on, or at least this is part of either a montage setting up the fact that he's coming back, or any number of things. But I think it's a very telling image just based on this one little leaked still.
Yeah, in my opinion, I'm just curious about how expansive the storyline is going to be now, because I thought the movie was starting off like he's already Batman. So if we're getting moments that are essentially recapping him becoming Batman, I'm curious not only about the real antagonist of the film now, but also what exactly is Matt Reeves going for in this movie? Is he just setting off to tell a long Halloween-inspired storyline, which for a long time we thought was essentially what they'd be doing? Is that what he's doing, or is he telling a new version of Batman's origin, especially since this movie reportedly is either in the 90s or early 2000s timeline-wise? So it's very interesting, all the little nuances going on with regards to the story, especially since it's been, as I'm sure a lot of people could realize, very tight-lipped.
Yeah, and there was also all the reports of it being set in the 90s, but then we got that set photo of the news vans that had HD, telecast logo on it, and that didn't come out until the very late 90s, early 2000s. So that may lead credence to the fact that this movie takes place maybe in the early 2000s. It's hard to tell, but that's just another little clue. I mean, it's all very mysterious, and I think that's part of the ambiance of Batman. Reeves is very much playing up the mystery of the Dark Knight and Bruce Wayne. So it's not like him to let out information. He keeps everything close to the vest. So honestly, I think we'll just have to piece things together until we finally get confirmation of that via a trailer or a Reeves quote or whatever it may be.
Yeah, he's pretty conservative with regards to what he reveals. I mean, he does like cryptic tweets, but he doesn't really give away too much. With this movie, though, and the set photos we got, if they are adapting more of a Batman 0-year style origin, and we're going to have moments in the film depicting Bruce Wayne coming back home, so to speak, are you hoping that we get a subplot of that? Because I'm hoping, I think it'd be really cool if maybe the main present day villain is somehow related to the past villain, if they show that, like Batman's first villain, so to speak, and maybe not the literal villain, but maybe the lesson learned or just the experience.
I wouldn't mind like a concurrent story that tells two different times, one later and one earlier. That's something we've seen in comic book movies before, and I find that very interesting way of storytelling. They actually did something similar in Little Women that I just watched, and it was actually very, very well done. And I enjoy that kind of story. The origin has always been played out to me. I mean, it's been played out since basically Batman Begins, and that's not because they did a bad job, but honestly, they did such a good job that it's just so hard to just go back and watch another origin and have it play out. And I think that's a lot of the reason why Gotham never really appealed to me. It wasn't a show that I was really interested in, the young days of Bruce Wayne. But it's something that obviously should be explored, and it's a very crucial part of who Bruce Wayne is. But it's weird because we just said last segment that they shouldn't give you information based on things you already know about the character. But this is kind of the polar opposite. People know way too much about Batman. There's a lot to be assumed about this character, and his his direct origin, and then the travel abroad is something that it's kind of universally understood. That I wouldn't have a problem with them kind of skipping over briefly, just skimming around. But obviously, I want Reeves to tell the story he wants to tell. I mean, he's an incredible filmmaker and deserves that right. So I'll go in open-minded. I'm not one for the origin.
I like the prospect of maybe, an investigation or something like that he's doing in the present day, harkens back to an earlier one, which might happen to be his first one as Batman. I think that'd be really cool for a concurrent storyline. I don't know. I kind of want something different. I've always been a fan of the detective aspect of Batman more than the more traditional superhero fighting crime in my underwear kind of thing. So I am really hoping it's a noir storyline. That's what it's been described as. So hopefully we do get that, but you never know. You never really know with superhero movies what you'll get. How much genre will it be versus, I guess, generic superhero beats. Even though Matt Reeves is such a good director, I think he can pull it off with high levels of success.
Right, you look to the filmmaker, right? Talking about Taika back in the first segment. I mean, he's a comedic genius. And I think, people weren't used to comedy in a Thor movie, and that's why a lot of people, oh, it's too funny. But I'm like, it's honestly the right kind of funny. Thor was always too serious. It was always too melodramatic. It never really worked in the MCU, and they gave him a little life, and it sparked a fire. And then now he's people's favorite character in the universe. Two movies later, excuse me, but he you have to look to the filmmaker and the people that they get to put in charge of these things. Someone like a Ryan Coogler on Black Panther, who makes it such a nuanced story in a big budget, superhero movie. There's a lot of deep seated, issues, and talks about social commentary and all of that. But I expect Reeves to do something, of his own and a very nuanced story. And I think, if he wants to touch the origin, he thinks it's important for the story that he wants to tell, then I'm all for it. I would rather see something different. Like you said, I'm always, all these movies all these years we've been watching these big blockbuster superhero movies. I'm always for different. I'm always for something new and inspired, not something retreading the past. But again, he's an incredible filmmaker, and I hope he can tell the story he's able to.
But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for this episode. Jackson, thanks for joining us again. I appreciate you being available.
Absolutely, anytime.
Yeah. So I guess, Jackson, you want to let everybody know where they could find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at JacksonHayes67 and follow the page at Full Circle Cine. That's CINE. And yeah, we'll just check us out and listen to the pod and continue listening to the pods and support H&E and all that.
Yeah. And for anyone else interested, leave comments in the description with hashtag HNEpod. Also, if you're listening to this on YouTube, you're probably listening to this as different segments. But if you're listening to it on other platforms, let us know what platforms you're listening to it on, whether it's Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, whatever it may be you're listening to it, let us know. And with all that said and done, Jackson, again, thank you for being a part of this episode, and we'll see you guys later.